All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesus. I'm in the Client Training and Education Department, and we're going to do this getting started with OptionStation Pro class in just a moment. I just have a couple of announcements to make, and then we'll get started. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I'm excited that you guys took out time from your schedules and joined me here in this class. So the class is going to be broken into basic concepts on options trading. First of all, we're going to show you how to load options in OptionStation Pro, how to trade single legs. Then we're going to show you how to build spreads from the option chain. And after that, we're going to get into analyzing options valuation. And if we get some time at the very end of the class, I'll show you how to do some option search, looking for opportunities that would provide you with the best outlook or the best result based on a specific outlook. So we have our hands pretty much full for the next 60 minutes or so. I wanted to first announce our Options Stars event. This is happening October 3rd through the 5th. It's hosted by Sarah Potter, founder of You Can Trade, and also Larry McMillan, president of Macmillan Analysis Corporation. These are professional options traders that are going to join us in Newport Beach, California, and they're going to teach us how to trade options and how to use their trading methodology. Michael Burke, one of my colleagues, will also be there doing an options primer the first half day of this event. So make sure that you mark the calendars for October 3rd. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to not only network with other options traders, but also get a lot of insight from these professional traders that are joining us in that event. The link is right there, tradestation.com/OptionStation Pro. I'm sorry, not OptionStation Pro. /options stars. Okay. And Nico is also sending that link right there in the chat for you to be able to click on it. And it'll take you directly to the page that provides you detailed information about the event, how much it is, how to register, where it is, all that good stuff. It's right there in that link. So make sure you click on it and bookmark it in case you want to join us in October. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about here today is for educational purposes only. TradeStation is not in the business of making recommendations, and everyone that trades online should be aware of all the risks that are associated with trading actively. So make sure that you are aware of these disclosures. If you'd like to read more, you can always go to the TradeStation website that we keep the disclosures there, or you can click on the link that Nico is also sending here in the chat that provide you a little bit more detail about those disclosures. The Getting Started with TradeStation is a several class series. We did the TradeStation desktop yesterday. We're going to do OptionStation Pro today. And tomorrow, we're going to do web and mobile. All the classes are at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And they're repeated every single week. So the content changes based on the questions that I get, on a weekly basis. But I try to keep the content very basic. But it's great getting started classes just to get you up to speed with trading on our platforms. Every Tuesday and every Thursday, we do Ask the TradeStation Experts. It's an open session where you come and join us and ask any questions related to the TradeStation platform. That way, you drive the content and I show you things that you're interested in. The other classes, the one at 10:30, it's pretty much content that I choose. But if there's a specific question or some tool that you want to learn a little bit more about, come to Ask the Experts and I'll show you and demonstrate those tools in a live setting. One thing that I wanted to announce is that this coming week, starting August 5th, we will not be doing any of these classes because we're going to be in TradeStation's Masterclass. TradeStation Masterclass is starting August 5th. It's a full week of in-person training on the TradeStation platform on strategy development and easy language programming. It's an excellent week for you to network with other TradeStation users. We have also prepared an incredible lineup of professional traders that are going to join us for lunch and learn sessions and also some afternoon sessions where they share their expertise with us. So if you have the time and you are able to travel, next week, starting August 5th, we have the TradeStation Masterclass right here in the city of Plantation, Florida. where the TradeStation headquarters are. If you're not able to make the TradeStation Masterclass in August 5th, we have a following class. September 4th is our next TradeStation Masterclass, and that Masterclass is going to be in the city of London, England. If you can travel to England, we have the masterclass in September. The link is right there in the chat if you want to click and learn a little bit more details about the class and where it's going to happen. But it's, again, a great opportunity for you to learn about TradeStation and also network with other TradeStation traders and also professional traders. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to switch over here to my TradeStation platform. OptionStation Pro is an application that has been fully integrated into TradeStation. So in order for you to access OptionStation Pro, you have to pull up TradeStation. You have to be logged in. OptionStation Pro is going to be part of the collection of apps. So I'm going to go here to apps and click on OptionStation Pro. All right, when OptionStation Pro loads, it's going to be loaded on one specific underlying asset. OptionStation Pro remembers the last symbol you're looking at, and it'll load that symbol inside of your OptionStation. Okay, you can see IBM has been loaded. Right here on the top left, you see the underline. Okay, and a couple of things that I want to point out, because when you come back to OptionStation Pro, you may be looking at something that is not familiar. Right now, I'm looking at a graph at the top, and I'm looking at some information at the bottom, and you may be saying, what is it that I'm looking at? How do I get started here? So I want to point out that OptionStation Pro has 4 different tabs right here at the bottom. You have Options, you have an Analysis tab, you have a Manage tab, and you have a Search tab. So the one that is active is the one that is in color blue. So you can see that at the bottom left, I am in the Analysis tab of OptionStation Pro. So at any moment in the use of OptionStation Pro, you're going to be in one of those tabs. If it's the first time you're using OptionStation Pro, you're probably in the Options tab. But make sure that you are aware of those tabs at the bottom, because you can switch between them in case you lose your place. So I can go to Options and see the option chain for IBM. I also wanted to point out, let me turn off my webcam so you can see it. Right here on the top right, right there. No, not that one. Right here. You see that little gear on the top right, in the top right corner? That gear is going to give you access to settings within OptionStation Pro. If you click there, you get to this settings panel. There's a couple things here that I'm going to point out. First of all, you can change the skin of OptionStation Pro, something that we don't have on the TradeStation platform yet on the desktop version, but we have it here on OptionStation Pro. If you like more to have a lighter background, just change it to light, and it changes the skin of the whole OptionStation Pro application to a lighter shade. Some people prefer that. You can also change the font size, which I've clearly done on my OptionStation Pro. That's why the numbers look so big. I'm going to keep them that way so that it's easier for you to follow me on your screens. But if you wanted to change the font size of OptionStation Pro, this is the place to do it. Again, that's right here on the top right corner. That gear gives you access to the settings. All right. Let me talk about the Options tab right here for a moment. Every expiration here that you see in the Options pane can be collapsed. There's a little caret right here on the left-hand side that if you click on it, it collapses the view. So you can pretty much close or collapse all the expirations and see how far out the expirations go for a particular underlying asset. Right here for this IBM underline, I have options that expire in the year 2021. Right here, there's the furthest out is the 15th of January, 2021. I believe by default, OptionStation Pro is going to give you all the expirations. We have some filters right here on the top. Let me click on this filter drop down that allow you to control what options are you seeing and which options show up. You can see that the number of expirations is set to all, but you can restrict that and maybe display less than all the expirations. You also have the ability to display different types of options. If you want to show the monthlies, the quarterlies, or the weeklies, by default, they're all going to be checked. But you can come here and uncheck any of the ones that you don't want to see in your option chain. We do have a dedicated strikes dropdown that allow you to increase the number of strikes that are loaded into the option panel. For example, mine is set to 20. So if I open any of these expirations, let me just open up the one for August 16th. You're going to see that from the current price of the underlying, we have 10 strikes below, and then we have 10 strikes above. If you want to limit that, just go over here to strikes and say, well, I want to see 10 instead. So when you do that, you only see 5 below and 5 above. If you want to give yourself a little bit more room on one side of the price of the underlying, then you come over here to filter, and you can say, well, I want only 3, or only 2, maybe only 2 below the underlying, and maybe 8 above the underlying. When I apply that, that's exactly what you get. You know, if you want to concentrate on one side, if you're bullish or bearish, you may be looking for strikes that are on one side of the underlying price. So again, let me go over here to my strikes and set it to 10. What else can I show you here? Okay, this is all about options. Right here on the right-hand side of options, let me turn off my camera for a moment. Over here, there's a little wrench to configure the column. Let me click there, and notice that you have the option to customize columns. I believe by default, I'm not sure if there's open interest, if open interest is displayed in the columns. But over here, these are all the different columns that you can display in your option chain. You know, we try to keep it very simple and just show you bid, ask, and delta. But if there are other calculations that you want to see as part of your option chain, you have all of these right here. Again, in order to access this menu, you have to click on the wrench that appears right here on the top right corner of OptionStation Pro. So if I want to see volume, for example, let me just grab volume. I'm going to add it over here. And let's see, I want to see the implied volatility. I'm going to add it over here. If you want to see the probability of in the money, you can add it here. So all these columns that you're adding here will apply to the whole option chain. So let me go ahead and click OK. And you can see how the columns are added to my view. I see implied volatility for each one of these options. And I also see probability in the money as well as volume. Okay. Let me go ahead and collapse my August and open up September. Okay, these are my September options. I want you to take a look at another couple of calculations that are happening here within OptionStation Pro. Over here on the right, let me turn on my camera again. Over here on the right, you have a percentage that is part of the main row where the expiration shows up. So if you follow that same row, you'll find a percentage that is average implied volatility of all the options that are in this expiration, 18.52%. Based on the volatility of those options that are here, there's an expected move, and that's what you see right there in parentheses. There's an expected move of $8.31 on the upside and the downside from the price of the underlying. So if you look over here, the price of the underlying is $149, meaning that if you subtract $8.30, that is going to take the price to $141, which is exactly what is represented by the gray shade behind the strikes right here in the strike column. So it's a very clear indication of where the price is expected to go based on implied volatility. So that helps you pick and choose the options that you want to trade. Because if there's no probabilities that the price will be within a certain price, maybe you would not be interested in trading that particular strike price. So this shade right here behind the strikes is pretty much that. What is the expected move of the underlying based on that implied volatility? Let me show you something else. The bid and ask are clickable fields. This allows you to enter into the trade bar very quickly by just clicking on the bid or ask. An example, let's suppose that I'm interested in buying the 145. This is a strike, 145. I know that it's being sold at $6.15 on the call side, and it's being bought for, this is the bid, $6. So this is the bid and ask for that particular call. If I want to buy this call, I can click on the asking price, because that's what it's being sold at. I click it, and notice that a couple things happen. First of all, you're going to see how OptionStation Pro will highlight the row in blue, letting you know that that is the leg that has been transferred over here to the trade bar. The trade bar pops up from the bottom of the screen, allowing you to trade that particular call. And there's a few more things happening here. Before we get into the details of the trade bar, I want you to look at the strike column. And everybody sees that line right there on the left side of the strike. That line represents profit and loss based on what you selected. So if I were to buy a call with a strike price of 145, I want, or I'm expecting, the price of the underlying to go up. Why? Because notice how this line right here turns green only when the strikes are higher than the current trading price. So that's the direction that you want the price to take. Any price that is below the underlying, notice that you're on the red side. It's a losing trade. So the precise point where that line turns from green to red, or red to green, depending on how you're looking at it, is your break-even point. That is precisely when you start making money or when you start losing money. So that's also very visible right here on the strikes, and we haven't even traded it. But all these visual aids allow you to make decisions as to what you want to trade and where are you expecting the price to go. All right, so we clicked on this $6.15. The trade bar popped up from the bottom. Here we have information on what we clicked on. This is a buy to open. The quantity is 1. For IBM, this is the expiration, the strike, and is a call. Doesn't matter if you already clicked on something and you change your mind. Let's suppose that instead of buying a call, you want to buy a put. You can very quickly come here on the trade bar and change the call to a put. And notice how it switches side right here on the right-hand side. And instead of you wanting the price to go up, you want the price to go down. That's where the green is. So you can very quickly come to the trade bar and make edits to your order before it goes through. Let me switch it back to a call. I also have the ability to change the expiration if I want to. Just clicking on that drop down, or the strike price. Very easy. Over here at the bottom, we have the type of order. This is a limit order because I'm specifying the price that I want. I can say, well, I know that it's being sold at $6.15. By default, the limit price will be populated with the mid price. So $6.10, which is the mid price between the bid and the ask, will automatically be populated in there. But you can just use natural, and this will put the asking price in there because you're buying. You know, if you're selling and use natural, it will use the bid, which is $6. See the difference? All right, so let's go and switch it to buy. And also notice that as you switch it to buy or sell, the color of the highlight changes, which is another visual aid as you're clicking on these options, so you know which one is a sell and which one is a buy. Let me keep it on buy. Okay. Getting a question here from Robert. Can I plot a chart of historical options prices for a given contract? Yes, you can, Robert. And I'm going to show you that right now so you know exactly how to do it. So let me just place this order before I go over and I show you historical prices on any options. So let me go over here, and let's say that I want to send this order the way it is. Maybe I want to change the duration to something like GTC. GTC is a good till cancel order. So if you send it as a day order, it'll be canceled at the end of the day. But if you want that order to remain active for multiple trading sessions, then change it to GTC. Let me go ahead and send that order. I'm going to place it. I get this confirmation, and I'm just going to click on yes. The order is received. How do I know? I want everybody to look at the information that is down here, right there. All the way at the bottom, you have an information bar. It tells you what happened to that order that you just sent. Over there, it says received. on my simulated account, a buy to open 1 IBM expiring September 2019, strike price of 145. It's a call, and I sent it with a price of $6.10 limit. That order still received is waiting to get filled at $6.10. All right, everybody got that? All right, so let's talk a little bit about how to view options and how to link options. I see a question from Russell. Can you disable the confirmation? I believe you can, and I'm going to show you how to do that. There's a couple of things that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to use TradeStation platform for that. First of all, I'm going to show you how to change the default quantity, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but every time you pull up the trade bar, by default, OptionStation Pro shows 5 contracts. Maybe that's not how you want to get started. Maybe you want to get started with 1 contract because not every contract will have the same valuation. Some contracts are going to be more expensive than others, and you may want to start with just 1 contract. The default in TradeStation is 5. I'm going to show you how to change the default. I'm also going to show you how to disable confirmations, and I'm also going to show you how to plot a historical chart of prices of the options. Let's do the historical prices first. I'm going to open up my TradeStation here with OptionStation Pro side by side. Ideally, you would have a computer that has multiple monitors, and you have OptionStation Pro in one monitor, and then you have a TradeStation on the other. I'm going to try to use this single screen and split it in half, OptionStation Pro on one side and TradeStation on the other. Okay, let me take my OptionStation Pro, put it on that side, and then take my TradeStation and put it right there. Let me remove some of the columns here so that I can clean this up a little bit. I'm going to come to configure, customize columns. Let me remove the columns that I added. All right. Okay, that gives me a little bit more information. My font is a little bit big, and I wanted to keep it that way so it's better. It's a better visual when you're looking at the live stream. But I'm going to open up a chart here in TradeStation. All right, everybody sees my chart. And the way that you see a historical, chart of any option contract is by linking OptionStation Pro to TradeStation. Linking the chart to OptionStation Pro. If you notice right here on the top of OptionStation Pro, it's already linked in a yellow. Let me go to this drop down and you'll see. Oh, in fact, let me turn off my camera so you can see it better. Okay, right here on the top, you see the yellow linking button. I go to the drop down and notice that it's set to the yellow global symbol link. That's exactly the same link that we want to use on our chart. So over here on the chart, I go to the symbol drop down, and I'm going to set this to the yellow global symbol link. So notice how the little icons look very similar. So now I've linked my OptionStation Pro to my chart. So if I'm looking at something here, let's say that I'm looking at Bank of America. I change the symbol on the chart. Notice that that'll send the symbol to OptionStation Pro, and it'll load up options for Bank of America. These strikes, notice that they're not in the 100 range anymore. They're in the 20s and 30s because now we're looking at Bank of America. Now, the link also works the other way. I can click on any of these option legs and get a chart. Now, I'm going to avoid the bid and the ask columns because we already established that if you click on those columns, you're going to generate a trade. So rather than clicking on the bid and ask, I'm going to click on another column. It doesn't matter which other column it is, as long as it's not the bid and ask. So if I want to see a chart of this strike 30 on the call side, I'm going to click on the delta right here. And as soon as you click on the delta, notice how the symbol gets loaded right here on the chart. These are the historical prices of this September call with the strike price of 30. Now I can click on another one. Let's say that I want to see the strike price of 31. I just click on another column that is not the bid and ask, and notice how it sends the historical prices of that option right there on my chart. And if you want to change the chart to a daily, just click on the chart, change it to daily, and this is a daily chart of that option. Okay, so that's the way that you link TradeStation to OptionStation Pro. Another thing that I wanted to show you is how to do confirmations and how to set the defaults. In TradeStation, go to the File menu, go to Preferences, and then go to order entry. So these are order entry preferences. And the order entry preferences, you're going to see a section reserved for options. Options trading. I'm going to click on trading. This is where you set the default fixed contracts. Notice that mine is already set to 1. Yours may be set to 5, so make sure that you change it if you want to. Maybe you trade 10 contracts instead of 5. So just put in a number that is the number that you want to start with. And here in validations and confirms, this is where you disable confirmations. Now notice how you can disable confirmations for each one of the order entry tools in TradeStation, including OptionStation Pro. So you can disable that confirmation right here. I'm going to leave it unchecked. I'm going to disable confirmations in OptionStation Pro. By the way, if you have any questions about validations, validations are thresholds that you set in your account. In case you go over that threshold, TradeStation will warn you. So warnings and validations sometimes are convenient because sometimes you may fat finger an order, and instead of putting 10 contracts, you put 100, and you want a safety catch. You want TradeStation to warn you if you've made a mistake. All right, so let's go ahead and click OK. Let me pull up OptionStation Pro and resize it so that it occupies all my screen. Okay. I see a question from Ronald. Actually, this is a question for how do you execute a sell to close? We'll get to that, Ross. And Ronald, can you trade options and futures on this platform? No, Ronald, you cannot trade options on futures on this platform. You can view, options on futures on OptionStation Pro if you want to do some analysis, if you want to use the tools that are within OptionStation Pro to analyze futures options, you can do that. But if you want to trade options on futures, you need a separate application that we provide. By the way, we just switched platforms in our options futures area. It's a very sophisticated platform. So if you're interested in trading options on futures, talk to your account representative and he'll give you details on how to get that side of the business started. But OptionStation Pro for trading purposes are only exclusive to index options and stock options, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at the order that we sent. Remember that we sent an order for IBM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here on the top left, and I'm going to switch to IBM again. I'm just going to type in the symbol, and that's going to load on my screen. Perfect. So I sent an order. We remember that we looked at the information bar right here at the bottom. Where do you go to see that order? Well, you go to Manage. Manage is the tab that is going to give you information about your orders and your positions. And if you notice, this is divided into 2 panels. We have this panel right here on the top, which is today's orders. You can see the name right there on the top left corner. And then you have the bottom panel, this panel right here, which gives you your positions. Okay, that's the 2 panels that the Manage tab is divided into. So if you want to look at an order that you sent, you come over here to today's orders. Today's orders are going to be categorized based on the status. Received is right here. This is my order to buy 1 contract. So let's go ahead and do something here to this order. How do you change that order? Because you can see how the limit price is $6.10. I want to replace this with something that it can get filled right now. And you can see the natural price is $6.25. So I want to choose that price. I'm going to right click on this row and I'm going to click on cancel replace. The trade bar pops up from the bottom again. I'm going to tap on or click on the natural pricing, $6.25. And I'm just going to click on place order again. That's the way that you replace it. Notice how it changed my limit price to $6.25, and this order got filled already. I can see because the category changed. Notice how it says filled right here on the left-hand side, and it also colors the row in blue. And blue is filled orders based on the standard colors that we find or that we see in the Trade Manager. Over here on the right-hand side, you see the fill price. Notice that even though we wanted a price of $6.25, we actually got filled at $6.20, which is excellent. Now, one thing that you can do is look at the position right here. Notice that I have this single call, 51, and right now there's a P&L of $2.50 negative, which is fine. I can send a closing transaction on this particular call. So to answer your question, Ross, how do you execute a sell to close? I'm going to right click on this row right here in my positions, and I'm going to say close this position. And notice that that opens up the trade bar again, and this is a sell to close. Now you can choose either side of the market. For example, if you want to close this, if the value of the option goes up as a profit, or you can close it with a stop order, stop market order, if the price of the actual option drops to, let's say it drops to $5, then you want to get out. Or you can base the decision of closing a particular option based on the underlying. Remember, this is what we bought. Let's go back here. Let me go ahead and clear my trade bar, or just hide it. Over here next to the green button, you have a little hide button that allows you to hide it and look at your position. We have a call with a strike price of $145. So we have the right to buy, IBM at $145 until the month of September. But what happens if IBM drops at 140 or even to 135? We have no point in holding this option because it's worthless, right? Why would you buy something at 145 if you can buy it cheaper in the market? So I'm going to set a closing transaction that closes my IBM call if IBM drops below 140. I'm going to right click on my position again. I'm going to close this position. And instead of pricing this particular call and saying, hey, if it drops to 5 or if it goes up to 7, I want to take an action. No, I want to base the decision on the underlying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the order type to a market order. Market order will usually set you or get you the price, either the bid or the ask. So let's go over here and check the box for activation rule. This is a place where you can set not only a price activation, but also a time activation. We click on the little ellipsis right here on the right-hand side. We check the box for price. We type in the symbol for the underline, and we click on add. And IBM, if IBM is trading at or below, right here, we change the operator. We put in our price, $140. Then I want to get out. I click OK. And once I've set that activation rule, all I need to do is place the order. So now we have a closing transaction. You can see that order right here. This is a sell to close. We can see the action. We can see the symbol. This is our IBM call. And if we scroll to the right side, there's an advanced column. Let me turn off my cam so you can see it better. There's an advanced column that I've added to my OptionStation Pro. You can add this column too if you see yourself creating rules like this one, where you base the execution of an order on the price of the underlying. You need this advanced column in order to see what the activation rule is. Notice how right there it says activation IBM less than or equal to 140. So if you want to be able to see that, I believe the advanced column is hidden by default. Just click on the little wrench right here on the top right, and then click on Customize Columns. Advanced is one of the options that you can add, or one of the columns that you can add. Just click it, click on Add, and then put it anywhere you want in the list of columns. I'm going to click OK, and that's where it is. Perfect. Let me leave that on, and I'm going to switch over to a different underline. Let me see if there's any questions that I can take. All right. All right. Elio, I see your question about tutorials in Spanish. Yes, so far we don't have anything in Spanish. Yeah, we do have, a tutorial on OptionStation Pro, which is a very old version. At one point, I did a class in Spanish. We recorded it, but it's about 3 years old, and it's going to look totally different than this. So I don't want to confuse you and show you and give you a video that has no relevance to what we're doing or using at the moment. But if you still want to see it, send me an email at learning@tradestation.com, and I'll send that over to you. Okay, learning@tradestation.com. Okay, let's take a look at some other functionality here. I'm going to switch the underline in OptionStation Pro. So here in the top left corner, let's load up Bank of America. Okay, I'm going to go, believe it's loaded. Right here on the top of OptionStation Pro, you see information for the online. Let me go here to the options panel. These are options for Bank of America. And I'm going to create a vertical. Let me show you how to build a vertical from this view. Verticals can be created by selecting the legs that make up the vertical or any type of spread. But in order for you to do that multiple selection, you have to hold down the control key. So the first thing you need to do is look at your keyboard, find the control key, and make sure that you hold it while you're clicking on the legs that make up your spread. So if I want to create or trade a vertical between the 30 and the 32, I'm going to hold down my control key. I'm going to buy the 30. Notice how it gets highlighted. And I'm going to sell the 32. And notice how it gets highlighted. Also notice that the two legs are highlighted, one in blue, one in red, letting you know which one is the long leg and which one is the short leg. And over here at the trade bar, you can see how the vertical is built. It actually recognizes it as a vertical. So if you click on individual legs and OptionStation Pro is able to recognize what spread that is, it'll tell you what it is. Otherwise, if it doesn't fit, the characteristics of any of the ones that are recognized by OptionStation Pro, it's going to say custom right here. So you can trade a custom spread if you wanted to do so. I'm going to trade this spread, but I'm going to do it at market because I want to show you something. So I'm going to place that order. Okay, notice how I get filled. I can look at the information bar right here at the bottom, and it says filled. And you also see this column right here, which is POS for position. You can see a +1 and a -1, letting you know how many contracts are you holding on that particular row. I'm holding a long contract on the 130. I'm sorry, on the 30, and a short contract on the 32. Creates a vertical. How do I manage that position? Let me go over here to the Manage tab, and I still see my IBM, which I want to hide that. So let me go ahead and click on this little button next to IBM, and it'll collapse the view. I'm always able to open it if I wanted to. And I'm going to open up Bank of America. And one thing that TradeStation or OptionStation Pro does is to split your spread into individual legs. So I come over here and I want to manage my position, and I don't see the vertical anymore. I see singles, which is totally fine. This is a way of OptionStation Pro allowing you to do anything you want with those legs. You can trade them individually. You can build a spread again. Let me go ahead and combine them into a spread again, which is something really easy to do. It just requires a click and a drag. So I'm going to click on one of the legs. It doesn't matter which one you click and drop on top of which. So I'm going to click on the short one and drop it on top of the long one. Notice how we get this very clear purple shade, letting you know that that's exactly where it's going to be dropped. And as soon as I release my mouse button, notice how now they're combined. Now it says vertical. And now I see a little plus sign on the left-hand side that I can click on to get individual information on the long and the short. Let me show you something also very interesting. I'm going to go back to options. Let me do another spread. I'm going to do the 33 and the 34 on the put side. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy the 34. So let me hold down the control key. Okay, I'm going to buy the 34 and I'm going to sell the 33. And notice that that's my vertical right here on the put side. And I'm going to also trade that as a market order so that I show you some more building spreads functionality, spread building functionality. Let me place that order. I get filled. I'm going to go back to the Manage tab. And again, notice over here, we have the vertical that we combined manually. And now we have the two single legs that we got filled on. Again, I can just click and drag. Let me click on the long and drop it on top of the short. And notice that I have another vertical right here. But I can take this one step further. I want you guys to notice that I traded two verticals using the options panel or the options pane. But I can take these verticals and I can bind them into an iron condor. Let me do that. Let me right click on, not right click, let me click on one of these verticals and drop it on top of the other. Notice how you see the same purple shade, and as soon as you drop it, it combines all the individual eggs in an iron condor. So the fact that I traded verticals doesn't mean that I'm stuck with verticals. I can take those verticals and combine them into an iron condor and trade it as an iron condor. Now I can right click on this iron condor and I can close this position and do all sorts of calculations. If I want to trade it based on the spread value, I can do that. If I want to trade them based on the price of the underlying, I can also do that. I can do a combination of both if I wanted to do so. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at trading this. I'm going to go here, right click and close this position. But instead of closing it, let's say, for example, that I want to analyze this iron condor a little bit more fully. Okay. Let me go ahead and transfer over to the analysis tab so you can see what you can do in the analysis section of OptionStation Pro. So instead of placing the order, notice how here in the trade bar, you have a place order button. You also have an analyze button. So when I click on analyze, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to be sent to the analysis tab. You don't see the analysis tab right now because it's being covered by the trade bar, but I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click on analysis or analyze, and it sends me here to the analysis tab. Notice that that's the tab that is blue. Okay. So what's going on here? There's certain sections here that I want to point out before I continue. First, you have the graph. That's the graph right there. Okay, that's anything that you have connected here. This information that you have at the bottom is going to be sent to the top. So whatever you have checked right here on the left side of the positions and simulations, everything that is checked down there is going to be sent to the graph so you can see a profit and loss graph of those positions. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to, first of all, and by the way, this is another section of OptionStation Pro that I wanted to point out. This is called price slices right here in the middle. There's nothing there, but we're going to add some slices in a little moment so you can see how you can use that. Let me go ahead and remove that. There's a middle divider that allows me to move this up or down. If I move this up, you can see that I have a single, I have an iron condor, I have my open position. I can analyze anything I want. So if I uncheck the single, notice that now my graph right here is showing me the vertical. I'm sorry, the iron condor, okay? Based on the verticals that we combined. And if I come over here, let me go back into that panel. Let's say that I uncheck the iron condor and I check the single. And this is what it looks like. That's my single call right there. Okay. So let's take a look at this call right now. In fact, let me go and set up my iron condor. Let me do something to it. You see over here that you're analyzing an iron condor, and the way that it looked right now with one of the wings was lower than the other was because of the prices that we picked for the iron condor. We picked the 32 and the 30, and then we picked the 33 and the 34. Now, continuing, the same spread between the strikes that I selected for the first vertical, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to do 30, 32, 34, and instead of 33, see, I cannot change it there. So let me go ahead and change this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this a 36 and the other one the 34. So we have 30 and 32, and then we have 36 and 34. If we select that, notice that now we have even wings on that iron condor. So you can make edits and changes to the iron condor if you want to in this analysis tab. Let's take a look at the analysis tab because there's a lot of information going on here. And I know from experience, talking to a lot of users of OptionStation Pro, that they're not really into the graph because maybe they're not understanding what is displayed here. So let me go ahead and give you a brief description of what's going on. Everybody knows that options have a time component to the valuation, so that the more time there is before the option expires, the more value or the more time value there is in a particular option. So as the option approaches expiration, of course, the valuation is going to change. So the graph, the first thing that it's going to show you is the valuation of the option right now and what the valuation of the option is at expiration. The valuation right now is that yellow line. At any given moment in the price of the underlying, the option is going to be valued differently. So the yellow line is that valuation right now, and the blue line, which is a little more straight, that is the valuation at expiration. Okay, so we have the two valuations, one right now and one at expiration. In the graph, you see the price of the underlying right here at the bottom. You can see we're in the 30s. That corresponds to the price of Bank of America. And over here on the left-hand side, I have P&L. I'll take a look at what's going on here with this particular iron condor, because the P&L over here is on the negative side. And if you look at some of the calculations that I have here at the bottom, I want to point those out right now. In the iron condor, notice that I have a maximum profit is 0, and I have a maximum loss of $209. So this is not a trade that I want to put into my account. Why? Because there's no possibilities of me making any money. Profit is 0, and the maximum loss is 209. In fact, if I follow the graph over here, notice where the 0 line is. The valuation of this iron condor is all below that 0 line. It's all negative. So it doesn't matter what happens to the price of Bank of America. If I'm holding this particular trade, it's not going to do anything for me. So let's go over here at the bottom. And instead of you can change the price of this by either changing the direction of this. Maybe I change this to buy. Notice that what I just did. I just switched the order of my iron condor so that instead of buying and selling particular legs, I switched them. Now, if I reduce it, notice that now I'm on the positive side of this, because now instead of doing what I wanted to do with the iron condor, I switched the buys and sells, and now I'm the positive side. Now, if I look at the calculations down here, notice that I have a maximum profit of $591 and a maximum loss of 0. All right, let's take a look. Let's see some of the questions here. Is there a faster way to trade options for a more active trader? Well, not sure what you mean. OptionStation Pro is rather quick. You know, you click on an option from the options panel and it gives you the trade bar. Were you looking more for like one-click order entry so that you don't have to go to the order bar to trade it, like more like the matrix? One thing that you can do is you can, link a matrix window to OptionStation Pro so that when you click on any of the legs, it sends that symbol to the matrix, and you can just click on the matrix directly and generate that trade. That's something that you can do. Yes, the matrix allows you that one-click order entry. The OptionStation Pro application, the clicking on the bid or ask is always going to send you to the trade bar. So it does require for you to do a couple more clicks in order for you to place a trade. But if you had OptionStation Pro linked to a matrix and from the options chain, you click on one of the options to send a symbol to the matrix, you can do all sorts of things to that option with one click. Not only one click, but you also get this whole side of OCOs and OSOs that is not available in OptionStation Pro. And I haven't mentioned this, but if you really want to trade a call or a put, and at the same time set a profit target and a stop on that particular single leg, the only way to do that is by using the matrix. Okay. Lynn is asking, can we do the analysis with unfilled orders or before placing the trades? Most definitely. Yes. Let me show you how to do that, because that's one thing that I skipped. First of all, let me clear out my analysis tab. If you come over here and you see a lot of information down here, these are simulations. So they can be removed without affecting your positions. I'm not sure if you see there's a divider. Looking at this panel right below where it says positions and simulations, there's a divider that creates a visual between your real positions and your simulations. My iron condor, my real position is up here. It's not checked. I can open it up and I can see the actual legs that are in my account. Notice that I cannot make any changes to this because this is my real position. So let me go ahead and collapse that for a moment. But I can remove the iron condor from my simulations. Over here on the right, there's a little ellipsis, and I have the option to delete this position. Notice that this is just a simulation. I'm just clearing out my simulation. So now I'm just left with my real position. My real position here just gives me the option to close this position so you can trade it from the analysis tab as well. Let me show you how to analyze rather than trading. Right here, let me go to the options panel. Let me disable my camera to show you a little drop down up here. You see up here where it says click to trade. That is what happens when you click on any of the bid or ask in the option chain. But if you want to do some analysis before generating a trade, just go to the drop down and set that to analyze trade, so that every time that you click on anything right here in options, in the options panel, it'll take you to the analysis before it generates a trade. Let me clear out some of the highlights that I have here. I'm going to right click and remove leg. So anytime that you have a highlight right here in the option panel, you can right click and remove the leg. Right click and remove the leg. That clears it out. And right here, I have the hide button right here for my trade bar. So now with the click to set to analyze trade, anytime that I click on any of these, let's click on this 30 strike on the call side. Anytime I click it, notice that it takes me directly to the analysis tab, allowing me to analyze that trade. Okay. A couple more things that you can do here. You can click on the prices and zoom in and zoom out if you want a little bit more detail. You can also pan by clicking and dragging. You can also see and calculate different scenarios. For example, this is a graph of a call. We know from the calculations down here that the maximum profit is infinity. You can see how it has the infinity symbol. And the maximum loss is $143. So the most you can lose by holding this call is 143, and that is clearly, displayed right here on the top. The graph, if you hover over the graph, I know it's hard to see on that video, but you get a little legend following the cursor, letting you know what the values are of each one of the lines. Right there, I see the yellow is 103, and the blue line is 142. The blue line is at expiration. That 142 is your maximum loss, negative, and you can see the P&L right here on the left-hand side. The only place that you would make money is if Bank of America goes up. But how much money would you make? Well, that's a very interesting thing that you can calculate right here with the price slices. I'm going to add a price slice by clicking on the button right here on the left. If you hover over it, says add, click on it. I added 2 by mistake. That's totally fine. I'm going to remove one of them. Let me start again. Let me click on add. It adds the slice and it gives you a price. The price is going to be pinned to the last. Notice how there's a column for pinned, meaning that as the price of Bank of America goes up and down, that price will adjust in real time. In fact, you see that line right here in the graph. We've added that vertical line, letting you know where the current price of Bank of America is. And now, notice how now the plot is giving you a P&L of 0. So you have 2 options here. You can set it at now, or you can set it at expiration. If I set it to plot number 2, which is the blue line, my loss would be $59. So if at expiration, Bank of America is still at $30.85, this is how much you would lose, $59. Now let me switch the calculation to plot number 1 again, which is now. And what would happen if Bank of America goes up to 35? I can change that price right here. And notice how the line shifts over here to the right-hand side. And it gives me the theoretical P&L of $365.78, which is pretty cool. You know, I can do all those calculations right here, and this becomes more like a sandbox, you know, and you say, well, something's going to happen to this particular underline. Maybe there's earnings or dividends being announced, and you think that the price is going to shoot up or shoot down, and you want to know what implications does that have over my position. So in this case, if Bank of America goes up to 35, that would generate a profit of $365 in my account. I find it very useful, and you can use, you know, this graph to create all these different scenarios. Okay. Let's take a look at some other questions here. Russell's asking, is there more than one way to remove the green-red bar on the option chain after you have clicked on a buy or sell option? You want to remove the green and red bar. Well, the green and red bar will always show up as long as you have something selected on the option pane. If that is a feature that you're wanting to remove because you don't like it, I'm not sure if that is possible. Let me see if I can do it right here in the option chain. There's some calculations here that we can set. The maximum order settings, you know. No, it is not something that you can disable, but it only shows up if you have something selected. So if I go here to my options, notice that I don't have that green and red line on my OptionStation Pro, but as soon as I click on something, let me go ahead and set this to trade. If I click on something, then the red and green line goes away. I can right click on the highlight, remove the leg, and the line goes, it gets removed. So no checkbox to enable or disable that functionality. It's been hard coded into the OptionStation Pro application. Okay. Yes, Jar Jar, you can send to Matrix. In fact, let me move my OptionStation Pro here on the right again, and let me pull up a matrix here. Okay, that's my matrix right there. Let me close the chart. I don't need it. And I'm going to create the same link here. Notice that I have to go to the linking button and create a yellow global symbol link. So let's suppose that I want to load this call of a strike price of 31. So I'm going to click on this side. There we go. So now we have the option right here inside of my matrix. And I can trade this the same way that I traded stock or I traded futures. In fact, you have the option to attach OSOs if you want to. Let me go ahead and edit those for a moment. Let me go ahead and change those to, because by default they're set to 50 cents. Let me set them to 5 cents so you can see them right here on the screen. Of course, there's no interpretation of the trade here. I just want you to see the orders. I'm going to click OK. And let's suppose that I want to buy at 75 cents. I just hover over 75 and I click. This is my confirmation. I say yes. So when you look at the orders, you can see the buy order and you also have a profit target and you have a stop loss. Works exactly the same way as we showed you with stocks and futures yesterday. The OCO and OSO feature that I'm using right now is only available on single legs. If you want to do a target and a stop at the same time on spreads, that is something that we cannot do at the moment. But if you want to trade OCOs for single legs, it's totally possible right here in the matrix. Okay, let's see if I can take other questions. Where can I see all my outstanding live trades? Okay, from OptionStation Pro, we just, let me hide the trade bar right here at the bottom. You go to the Manage tab. Manage gives you today's orders right here on the top, and it gives you positions at the bottom. Okay, so that's where you go to see your live trades and any open positions. Okay, yes, Russell, once you've looked at it, the only way to disable is by removing the actual highlights by right-clicking on the legs and remove the legs. All right, thank you so much. Well, we've reached the end of this class. I want to appreciate the time that you guys have spent with me. It's really appreciated. I want to remind everyone of Option Stars. Option Stars is a great event for every options trader. So this is something that you don't want to miss. Is October 3rd through the 5th. We're going to have Sarah Potter and Larry McMillan as professional traders. They're going to be showing us how to trade live. I think Sarah Potter, who's presenting on Friday, is going to trade live that Friday. So that Friday is going to be a very early day since we're in California. The markets are going to open at 6:30 in the morning. So that's when the sessions begin, and we're going to see her live trading. She's going to be trading live, so it's a great opportunity to see how other professional traders are doing it. So make sure that you mark your calendars for October 3rd. Also, if you have time to travel, next week we're going to be delivering the TradeStation Masterclass right here in Plantation. And in September, we're going to be doing the masterclass in the city of London, England. So make sure you click on the links that are right there in the chat for both OptionStars and the TradeStation Masterclass, and for you to read a little bit more about those events. I do have a last minute question here. Is there any way to switch the default number of contracts populated when you want to buy options? Yes. And I showed the class that, Camilo. You go to on the platform, on the TradeStation platform, you go to File, Preferences, Order Entry, and then go to the Options Trading, and it should allow you to change that number there. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and I hope to see you in a future event right here at TradeStation. Don't forget our classes tomorrow. We have at 10:30, we have the web and mobile presentation, and at 12 noon, we have Ask the Experts. Great opportunity for you to come and join us for more questions. What's that again, Nico? No classes next week, by the way. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, we're going to be in the master class. So we are not going to have any live classes that week. But if you want to join me the following week, you're welcome to do so. Goodbye, everyone. Great afternoon. Bye-bye.